Multifunctionality in green infrastructure. The content includes 5 main subtopics: learning objectives, the concept of multifunctionality, the benefits of multifunctional green infrastructure, principles for designing multifunctionality, and a summary with key messages. By the end of this session, you will be able to explain what multifunctionality means in the context of green infrastructure, recognize different ecosystem services that green infrastructure can provide, and assess real examples and design approaches that support multifunctional green infrastructure in planning and practice. Concept of multifunctionality. A. Green infrastructure elements can deliver several ecosystem services at the same time. B. Integrates ecological, social, and technical functions within one space. C. Improves land use efficiency and supports cost-effective planning and management. Green infrastructure, GI, elements are increasingly recognized for their capacity to deliver multiple ecosystem services at the same time, supporting climate regulation, biodiversity, recreation, stormwater management, and human well-being within a single spatial intervention. Multifunctional GI relies on ecological processes such as infiltration, evapotranspiration, and habitat connectivity to provide both regulating and cultural services, often outperforming single-purpose gray infrastructure. Benedict and McMahon, 2006, Zulis et al., 2007. Research shows that systems like urban meadows, bioswales, green roofs, and riparian buffer zones can simultaneously reduce runoff, improve air quality, enhance urban biodiversity, and create accessible community spaces. Hansen and Pauliet, 2014. International frameworks, including the EU Green Infrastructure Strategy and Nature-Based Solutions Guidelines, emphasize multifunctionality as a key planning principle to maximize land use efficiency and deliver cost-effective ecosystem service benefits across urban and peri-urban landscapes. European Commission, 2013, Raymond et al., 2017. This diagram illustrates how green and gray infrastructure function as interconnected subsystems within the urban landscape, linking environmental, community, economic and landscape dimensions. Whittam, in American Planning Association, 2016. The hexagonal structure highlights multiple elements, such as parks, trees, riparian buffers, storm sewers, green streets and natural lands, and shows how they interact to generate ecosystem services, social benefits and economic value. The arrows indicate flows, feedbacks and leverage points, demonstrating that green infrastructure is not a single intervention but a network of interdependent systems that support hydrology, climate regulation, soils, civic identity, real estate value, public health and resource efficiency. By visualizing the connections between infrastructure types and broader sustainability outcomes, the figure communicates a holistic, systems-thinking approach to multifunctional GI planning. Multifunctional green infrastructure, GI, brings together ecological, social and technical functions to support sustainable urban systems. Ecologically, GI improves biodiversity, regulates microclimates, and enhances soil and water quality through nature-based processes such as infiltration, evapotranspiration and habitat connectivity. Zulis et al., 2007. Socially, GI provides spaces for recreation, health benefits, cultural identity, and community cohesion, particularly in densely built environments. Kabish et al., 2015. Technically, GI functions as urban infrastructure for stormwater management, flood mitigation, networked mobility, and heat reduction, often replacing or complementing traditional gray systems. Hansen and Pauliet, 2014. This integration allows planners to deliver multiple ecosystem services within the same spatial intervention, increasing land use efficiency and resilience to climate change while reducing long-term maintenance costs. European Commission, 2013. Multifunctional green infrastructure, GI, can significantly enhance land use efficiency and overall cost-effectiveness by delivering several ecosystem services within the same spatial footprint. Unlike traditional single-purpose gray infrastructure, GI elements, such as bioswales, green roofs, rain gardens, and urban meadows, reduce the need for separate stormwater, cooling, recreation, and biodiversity facilities, thereby lowering construction and maintenance expenditures over time. Hansen and Pauliet, 2014. Studies show that GI can reduce runoff volumes, decrease energy use, and mitigate heat island effects, which translates into substantial long-term savings for municipalities. EPA, 2014. The European Commission, 2013, also stresses that strategic GI planning maximizes the value of limited urban land by stacking ecological, social, and technical functions within multifunctional spaces, producing higher returns on investment than fragmented single-use land allocations. As cities face increasing budget constraints and land scarcity, GI offers a resilient and economically efficient alternative to conventional urban infrastructure systems. Figure illustrates the spatial distribution of land use multifunctionality, highlighting the interplay between economic, social and environmental functions at the township level. Areas with high multifunctional value show a balanced provision of production, work, cultural services and ecosystem regulation, demonstrating how a single landscape can support multiple societal needs simultaneously. In contrast, single function zones, either socio-economically dominant or environmentally dominant, reveal clear trade-offs where intensive land use reduces ecological performance or vice versa. The map, therefore, visualizes multifunctionality not as a static condition, but as a dynamic spatial gradient shaped by land use patterns, accessibility and resource distribution, offering a useful basis for sustainable territorial planning and decision-making. Multifunctional green infrastructure delivers multiple co-benefits by integrating ecological, social and technical functions within the same spatial system. First, flood mitigation combined with recreation, such as stormwater parks and wetland retention basins, reduces runoff while providing accessible public space and improving well-being. Ahern, 2011, Hansen and Paulit, 2014. Second, habitat provision together with air quality regulation supports urban biodiversity and reduces particulate matter through vegetation structure, tree canopy interception and soil filtration. Zulus et al., 2007, European Environment Agency, 2011. Third, urban cooling associated with public health improvement is achieved through shading, evapotranspiration and increased walkability, which lowers heat-related illness and enhances microclimate comfort. Kabish et al., 2015, Norton et al., 2015. Fourth, cultural identity coupled with biodiversity conservation reinforces place attachment, supports cultural ecosystem services and strengthens public support for ecological stewardship in urban environments. Chan et al., 2012, Raymond et al., 2017. Together, these integrated benefits demonstrate that multifunctional GI is more land efficient, resilient and socially inclusive than isolated, single-function gray infrastructure solutions. Stormwater parks demonstrate how multifunctional green infrastructure can integrate hydraulic performance with public amenity in a single intervention. By combining detention basins, bioswales and wet meadows with pathways, seating, and play areas, these landscapes temporarily store excess runoff, reduce peak flows and lower flood risk, while simultaneously providing accessible spaces for social interaction and leisure. Hansen and Paulit, 2014, Ahern, 2011. Vegetation structure and soil infiltration improve water quality, slow surface flow and support ecological processes, making stormwater design part of everyday urban life rather than a hidden technical system. Norton et al., 2015. As a result, stormwater parks deliver resilience through safe-to-fail design, ensuring that during extreme rainfall events public spaces continue to function while protecting downstream neighborhoods. Ahern, 2011. The dual role, risk mitigation and recreation, illustrates a core principle of multifunctional GI, maximizing land use efficiency by providing ecosystem services and human benefits in the same location rather than through separate, single-purpose infrastructures. Multifunctional green infrastructure can simultaneously create habitat for urban biodiversity while improving air quality through vegetation-based filtration and microclimate regulation. Tree canopies, mixed shrub layers and herbaceous ground covers capture particulate matter, PM10 and PM2.5, absorb gaseous pollutants such as nitrogen oxides, and reduce resuspended dust along transport corridors. Zulus et al., 2007, European Environment Agency, 2011. At the same time, structurally diverse vegetation supplies nesting sites, food resources and ecological connectivity for birds, pollinators and small mammals, strengthening species richness in urban settings, Beninde et al., 2015. Habitat networks embedded in street greening, parks, rain gardens and riparian corridors create stepping stones that support ecosystem functions across fragmented city landscapes while delivering measurable public health benefits linked to cleaner air and reduced exposure to respiratory stressor, Kabish et al., 2015, Raymond et al., 2017. This dual function exemplifies the added value of integrated GI design, where vegetated systems work as living infrastructure supporting both ecological processes and human well-being. Urban green infrastructure plays a significant role in reducing heat stress and supporting public health by moderating local microclimates. Tree canopies, vegetated corridors, wetlands, rain gardens and green roofs provide shading and evapotranspiration, which can reduce surface temperatures by 2 to 8 degrees Celsius during heat waves and decrease the urban heat island effect at neighborhood scale, Norton et al., 2015, Bowler et al., 2010. Cooler outdoor environments encourage walking and social interaction, reduce heat-related morbidity and mortality, and improve cardiovascular and respiratory outcomes, particularly among vulnerable populations such as older adults and children, Kabish et al., 2015, Clem et al., 2015. Integrating cooling strategies into public parks, streetscapes and stormwater systems thus delivers co-benefits, enhancing thermal comfort, increasing physical activity, and lowering healthcare risks associated with extreme heat. As climate change intensifies, multifunctional GI that supports urban cooling is emerging as a cost-effective, preventive public health intervention rather than a purely environmental measure. Cultural ecosystem services provided by green infrastructure strengthen community identity while simultaneously supporting urban biodiversity. Landscape elements such as community gardens, heritage trees, riparian trails and restored meadows offer aesthetic and symbolic value that reinforces place attachment, memory and local narratives, Chan et al., 2012, Raymond et al., 2017. At the same time, these spatial features can be designed to enhance species richness and ecological connectivity, for example, by integrating native planting schemes, pollinator habitats and structural diversity to create year-round ecological niches, Beninde et al., 2015. Public participation in stewardship activities further couples cultural meaning with ecological function, improving social cohesion and generating long-term support for biodiversity conservation in urban areas, Buser et al., 2016. This dual role demonstrates how multifunctional GI contributes not only to ecological resilience, but also to the cultural sustainability of cities. Effective multifunctional green infrastructure requires design processes that deliberately integrate ecological, technical and social objectives from the outset. First, layered planning with stakeholder input ensures that stormwater, biodiversity, recreation and cultural values are addressed together, rather than sequentially, by co-creating visions, identifying local priorities and mapping conflicts or synergies in land use, Hansen and Pauliet, 2014, Buser et al., 2016. Second, interdisciplinary design teams combining landscape architects, ecologists, engineers, public health experts, and community organizations, can generate more innovative and resilient solutions that move beyond single-function infrastructure, Ahern, 2011, Lennon et al., 2021. Third, long-term management planning embeds maintenance, seasonal management, ecological succession, and governance responsibilities into project delivery, helping prevent decline in performance once construction is complete, Raymond et al., 2017. Finally, monitoring co-benefits supports adaptive management by tracking ecosystem services, social use patterns, and climate resilience outcomes over time, providing evidence for investment and iterative improvement, Kabish et al., 2015. Together, these strategies ensure that multifunctionality is not an accidental byproduct, but a planned, measurable, and evolving quality of urban landscapes. Layered planning with stakeholder input brings together different spatial functions, scales, and community perspectives to ensure that green infrastructure delivers multiple benefits in the same place. Rather than treating flood control, recreation, biodiversity, or cultural values separately, layered planning maps these needs simultaneously and identifies where they can overlap or reinforce each other. Local residents, municipal departments, landowners, and designers collaborate to reveal lived experiences, seasonal uses of space, and future priorities that might not be visible in technical assessments alone. This co-creation process builds ownership, reduces conflicts in land use decisions, and helps develop design solutions that genuinely respond to local contexts. When stakeholders are involved early and continuously, multifunctionality becomes an intentional planning outcome rather than an accidental result, improving both project acceptance and long-term success. Interdisciplinary design teams bring together complementary expertise to create green infrastructure solutions that are both technically effective and socially meaningful. Landscape architects, ecologists, hydrologists, engineers, public health specialists, and community facilitators each contribute different perspectives and problem-solving tools. By working collaboratively from concept to implementation, teams can anticipate trade-offs, integrate multiple functions in one space, and identify hidden opportunities for synergy, such as combining drainage systems with habitat corridors or linking recreational amenities to ecological restoration. Regular communication, shared goals, and iterative design reviews help avoid siloed thinking and ensure that interventions respond to environmental challenges as well as user needs. This cooperative approach increases innovation, supports risk-aware decision-making, and results in projects that are more resilient and multifunctional over the long term. Long-term management planning ensures that green infrastructure continues to deliver intended benefits well beyond its initial construction. Rather than treating a project as finished, once built, long-term planning anticipates how vegetation will grow, how water systems will function seasonally, and how public use patterns may shift over time. Maintenance strategies include scheduled planting, pruning, sediment removal, and invasive species control, as well as clear governance structures that define who is responsible for ongoing care. Budgets, training programs, and community stewardship initiatives help keep management sustainable and resilient, preventing decline in performance or loss of multifunctional value. By integrating monitoring data and periodic evaluation, long-term planning supports adaptive management, allowing decision-makers to adjust strategies as conditions evolve, ensuring that ecological, social, and technical functions remain effective for decades. Monitoring co-benefits is essential to evaluate whether multifunctional green infrastructure is delivering ecological, social, and climatic outcomes over time. Effective monitoring frameworks collect both biophysical data, such as biodiversity presence, infiltration rates, heat reduction or water quality, and social metrics, including user satisfaction, frequency of visits, or perceived health improvements. Kabish et al. 2015, Raymond et al. 2017. Baseline surveys, indicator selection, and repeat measurements across seasons make it possible to understand trade-offs, detect declining performance, and refine management strategies. Lennon et al. 2021. Importantly, county benefit monitoring supports adaptive planning and evidence-based investment, enabling municipalities to justify funding, adjust maintenance priorities, and demonstrate the long-term value of nature-based approaches rather than purely single-function infrastructure. Hansen and Pauliet, 2014. Multifunctionality represents a critical shift in how cities conceive, design, and manage green infrastructure. Instead of providing a single benefit, multifunctional GI integrates ecological processes, social uses, and technical functions within the same spatial intervention, thereby maximizing value on limited urban land. This approach simultaneously delivers stormwater management, biodiversity enhancement, microclimate regulation, recreational opportunities, and cultural ecosystem services. It also contributes to higher land use efficiency and long-term cost-effectiveness by stacking ecosystem services rather than planning them separately. Achieving true multifunctionality, however, requires collaborative governance, transdisciplinary planning, and continuous monitoring. Stakeholder engagement, community co-creation, and adaptive management ensure that design spaces remain resilient, context-specific, and responsive to emerging environmental challenges. Ultimately, multifunctionality is not only a design strategy, but a framework for shaping sustainable, resilient, and livable cities in which green and gray infrastructure operate as interconnected systems delivering long-term ecological and social co-benefits.